Good morning, early game crew. We got a lot to react to from Saturday because South Carolina goes to Death Valley and falls 20-10 in a game that I did not anticipate seeing at all. Not because of the result. LSU winning this game by 10 points, I don't think is a surprising result by any stretch of the imagination. But what is surprising is that the South Carolina team found so many different ways to trip over themselves. And on one Saturday night in Louisiana that you needed to have to turn your season around, you couldn't do it because you couldn't get out of your own way. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. My last day of coverage of this South Carolina LSU game from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, brought to you by our friends over at Forest Lake Travel and Daisy Miller. And Preston, I think that's the only way we can start the discourse about this game is talking about how LSU continued to send formal invites to South Carolina to take the game, and South Carolina, like a bad Farmville request, kept clicking reject, 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 and the result is a 10-point loss that has led to even further ramifications for what the rest of this 2025 season might look like.
College football is on fire, Elijah. What a fun. This is so much fun. So many things to talk about. I'm so happy to be here with you this morning. If you would have told me that the South Carolina defense as a whole, the final score was going to be LSU had 20 points, I would have said, man, we got a shot. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a chance for us to win. You remember we sat in here and said, man, I don't know if we can get much above. If it gets into that 23 range, it might be a little bit shaky. But at 20, we might have an opportunity. And guess what?
Doable.
Kept it to 20, and there was not a shot.
No. Even crazier, Preston. If I told you, on Friday, I pop up into your car.
Remember Preston from the future was visiting us?
That's right. Yeah, like you are visited from the future, and you are told LSU only scores 20 points, and South Carolina accounts for 193 rushing yards, and at one point in the game had 200 rushing yards. You're probably thinking, oh my God, Carolina won by 20.
We did it.
Yeah, but no.
We did not do it.
Because that would be on the future teller, maybe a little bit of leaving out some key information. Well, even if I included, say, hey, Preston, Carolina rushes for 193. LSU is held to 20 points. South Carolina forced 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions of Garrett Nussmeier, and a fumble on the goal line. And then I said, well, there's the penalties thing.
Oh, that.
Because there were 13 of them. And a majority of them were operational penalties, false starts, illegal snaps. Your offensive line accounted for what I believe was 7 of the 13
That is correct.
plays.
That is correct.
And then it said, well, Lenore Sellers had 27 pass attempts, completed 15 of them because he spent most of the night running for his life. Then you start to understand why South Carolina ends up losing this game by 10 points, despite getting some of the statistical benchmarks that you would have thought would lead to wins.
Yeah, and we will come back to this. We'll be talking about it today, tomorrow when we watch the tape and all that. But I just want to reemphasize the idea that out of those penalties, 7 were on the offensive line, which there were ramifications for that. But even more so than that, 10 of them were operational, Elijah. 10. And that's just offense, because you know what? Defense, you're going to get on the line on Wednesday too. Two of your 3 were operational also. Just jumping off sides or lining up off sides. So, yes, everybody's going to focus on the offense, rightfully so on the offensive line, but this is a team effort.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, it was not just a team effort, it was a team meltdown.
Correct.
I've never seen – I've watched a lot of college football, and it's been – I don't want to say never, because I'm sure I probably have seen a game, and I'm just not conjuring up the memory appropriately right now. But I cannot say that I have seen a football game in a long time where one team simply refused to get back into the game. LSU tried. LSU tried everything they could to get South Carolina back into this game. They tried. They did their part. Garrett Nussmeier did exactly what we thought he would do. He gave you two gifts, right? We had the ultimate Garrett Nussmeier experience, going from one incredible throw down the sideline to then overthrowing his receiver by a mile and hitting DQ Smith right on the number. You got a lot of gifts in this game. LSU could not put you away, no matter how hard they tried. They could not put you away, but not a single time did Carolina take advantage of it. And I think what sums up this game perfectly, if you want to just find the ultimate microcosm in this game, to me it was when South Carolina gets past, I believe this is in the fourth quarter, you get past the 50, you get all the way to the LSU 28, I believe it was. You get down to the 28, and it's 1st and 10. No, 26. I'm looking back at my notes. You're 1st and 10 on the LSU 26. And then you have a false start. Another false start, right? Boaz Stanley wasn't his first rodeo in terms of getting flagged on the afternoon. And then Lenoris has another intentional grounding penalty. He had two of them on Saturday night. So after the false start and the intentional grounding, you turned 1st and 10 on the LSU 26 to 2nd and 28 on LSU's 45.
Yeah, I mean, well, can I raise you one?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't know if we need to get that far, because guess what happened on the first offensive snap of the game, Elijah? The first time we put hands on the ball.
After a bye week, a fumbled snap under center.
After a 3 and out.
Yeah, after your defense looked great, right? Like, your defense came on the field and set a tone to start the game, and then you immediately hand the ball to LSU. Just give it to them, right? And, like, that play was so dysfunctional because the more I look at it, you probably could have called a false start on the left side of the offensive line.
Yes.
Obviously, there's the element of the dropped handoff.
Yes.
And then after the game, Shane Beamer says, everybody seemed to know the snap count except Rodney Newsom, who was in the game at center. And, it wouldn't be as bad if this team didn't have an entire week off to prepare for a first play. It's not like, it was a short week. You played on Saturday and it's a Thursday night football game, right? No, you had an entire bye week. Your first offensive play coming off of a bye week was maybe one of the more dysfunctional plays under center you could possibly design.
Well, I think there's going to be some. I think there's going to be some Professor P to get into that a little bit. Maybe tomorrow where we can break that down, because there are some operational things that I do think maybe we could have taken care of as we looked at that. But yeah, that is a. You know what? We have plenty of time. Let's get into this really quickly, Elijah, before we go out to Ray, who's out there on the phone line. Elijah, first time in Death Valley. Yes?
Ooh.
Mid? Lived? What you think?
It's the truth.
Okay.
Yeah, that is almost the loudest I've ever heard it in a stadium before a game. I was texting you all, while I was sitting there in the press box before the game, and I was like, this place is rocking. And it does help that they have the open air press box, but so you can hear everything a lot better. But oh my God, it was loud. It was every bit as advertised. That is a really cool stadium, man.
It is. On the cool factor, really it is. Cool. It is really cool. When you got, I saw your post game analysis. When you got on the field, you see the wood bleachers and the numbers. It's cool. It is.
Yeah. I'll say this from my experience, it was a really neat college football experience. Even if the game was an absolute dud of a football game, even just from a third party, I guess, objective viewer, it was a pretty boring football game, but it was an incredible atmosphere. And yes, that place absolutely lived up to everything that it was told to me. So with that being said, now we'll go out to Ray, our first caller of the day on Reaction Monday, AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Ray, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Well, good morning, Preston, Jen, Elijah. I'll tell you guys, man, the Gamecocks Saturday night, they gave us enough material for all week. I mean, even if we don't even get into the Oklahoma game, if we don't even talk about Oklahoma, which we will, of course, they gave us enough material of everything that's happened, say, within the last 36 hours. I mean, that we could talk about all week and diagnose all this stuff. But anyway, talking about rushing yards and everything, I think it was Samuel Clemens that says there's lies, damn lies, and then statistics. But anyways, what I'm getting at is, man, I mean, before I get into the Teasley stuff and all that, let's start. To me, how I would sum up this season was that very first offensive play. I mean, like you guys indicated, you had 2 weeks, and that's what you came up with. And guys, Cole Kubik, he about came unglued. He played center, and he said that, and they even had the stats that we are in the shotgun 93% of the time. So we're only under center 7% of the time. And he said when you get under center, you have to practice it a few hundred times a day. He said, and you should never be under center the very first play of the game if you're in the shotgun 93% of the time. I mean, to me, it sums up that there's more moves that need to be happening on this staff instead of just Teasley. But what I want to get at, there's a few things I want to talk about. I want to talk about 2 words that start with the D: dichotomy and diatribe. So I'm going to go into a diatribe. But how I look at this, in the past, when things weren't going good, we and not just in football, but all the other sports here, when we heard, well, we will evaluate at the end of the year. Well, Jed, if you have a race car that's going around the track and it's just running loose, are you going to wait to the end of the race? Your tires are probably going to fall off by then, and because you're going to decide, well, we're just going to evaluate what happened at the end of the race. No, you're going to pull in the pit stop and try to fix it as fast as you can because it's all about finishing.
Either that or you're going to have a really nasty wreck, which is what we had.
Exactly. I mean, this isn't like, drag racing, which is a sprint, which I love drag racing as a kid, Jen. We used to have Blaney drag strip over here in Elgin. And I've actually seen Don Gardis and Shirley Madowney race. I mean, that's for another conversation, another time. But anyway, it's a marathon is what it is. So, the last leaders we've had here, and I don't say names because I respect them too much, we'll wait to the end of the year and evaluate. Well, I don't know if Donati went to Beamer or Beamer and my new boss ain't going to put up with this. But regardless, one way or the other, I think our AD had a hand in this, whether it was directly or indirectly. And if that is the case, Preston, I am so glad we have Donati. I am just tickled at this point because, this is a, I had a boss that always quoted the Godfather movies. And you remember in the second Godfather, the character Hyman Roth, played by Lee Strasberg, when he told Michael Corleone, he told him, he said, well, things don't go good all the time, things aren't perfect, and you got to come in and do some things that may be uncomfortable and stuff like this, and he told Michael, he said, so Michael, this is the business we chose. So this college football thing is, I mean, it's a serious thing. I mean, just look up at Happy Valley there, But what I want to get into too, it's just, so I guess that's a bit of my diatribe compared, the last leader to this leader. But I mean, and the one time I did see Donati on a certain network, and I'm not gonna say the name of the network, the dude just looked like everything about him was perfect. His hair was perfect. His dress was perfect. I mean, he was very distinguished looking. If you saw him at the country club, you would just assume he's the club champion. That's the way he carries himself. And I think that's what we need here at Carolina. And I couldn't be any happier about that. That now, there are consequences. There's accountability more so than ever. So we'll see how it plays out. But I don't think
we got to hit a break here, Ray. We got to hit a break. So I appreciate the call. We're definitely going to hit on a lot of that, especially when it comes to maybe what Jeremiah Donati's role is in terms of what happened with Lonnie Teasley. We're going to get into the Lonnie Teasley thing at 6:30, maybe a little more in depth. But coming up next, we're going to take a look at this game through the scope of how South Carolina grades themselves, their personal criteria for each game. How did they do? We'll look at that next.
Hey, it's Jen. Discover the unparalleled quality and selection of Mill Street Flooring, your go-to destination for the finest luxury vinyl plank flooring in the Midlands. They're the exclusive distributor of Case Luxury Flooring. They have wear levels from 12 to 28 mils for durability and style. And whether you're a contractor, a builder, an installer, maybe you're just doing a home improvement project, you're going to appreciate the factory direct prices and manufacturer's warranties. Samples are available in luxury vinyl plank in a wide array of patterns and colors. So much selection. You can find the perfect flooring instantly. Choose from the standard or the wider planks to fit any space, any budget. No order is too big or too small. Visit millstreetflooring.com or call Joe at 803-424-8547 to arrange your appointment at their Lugoff or West Columbia locations. And now through October 31st, get $107.50 off an order of $1,000 or more. At Mill Street Flooring, there's never a good reason to spend more than you have to. Left lane is blocked. I-77 northbound at Shop Road. Also a report of an accident. I-77 northbound at Blythewood Road. And forecast for today, we're looking for clearing skies, 76, sunny and 80 for tomorrow. Right now, a little bit of misty conditions, 61 on that early game.
Right in set, Dingle and Hunt in the lineup. Matthew Fuller's the back. Sellers out of the gun. Brings a man across the space. That's Harbor. Handoff inside and wide open. It's Fuller breaks another tackle at the 50. Foot race down the far sideline at the 20. 15, 10. Are you kidding me? Touchdown, Carolina. Touchdown, Matthew Fuller. A night game in Baton Rouge, and he just cranked out a 72-yard touchdown run.
That was Matthew Fuller's 72-yard touchdown run to give South Carolina a 7-3 lead. And we play that because, well, one of the things South Carolina wants to do in every game, one of their self-identified ways to win football games is to run the ball and stop the run. And they actually ran the ball maybe better than they have all season. However, the other factors of their criteria kept them from being able to take advantage of it. It's Reaction Monday. We're breaking down South Carolina's 20-10 loss to LSU on Saturday night to fall to 3-3. And Preston, when we look at all these 5 criteria here, we'll start with run the ball and stop the run because of what we just heard from Matthew Fuller's play, in which he has a 72-yard touchdown. Doesn't really see much action after that. But South Carolina, if you adjust for sacks, outgained LSU 6.2 to 5.5 yards per carry. I don't think either of us thought that that number would be that high for both teams coming into this game.
Yeah, that's the key point. Both teams, because we knew neither of these teams ran the ball particularly well before this game, and then both of the teams seemed like they could actually scrounge up some running games. Specifically, South Carolina, and had a big play. That's the first real home run of the year that we had in the running game.
Mm-hmm. It absolutely, yeah. First, like big time explosive play. And Rasul Faison, I mean, it's going to get overlooked because of the obvious result of what happened during the game. But ran the ball for over 5 yards a carry. I mean, he had 13 carries for 68 yards. He had a really productive game, and the running game was really good. Didn't stop the run well enough to maybe fend off some LSU drives, and LSU did go for 420 total yards, with a lot of those going in the run game. It's a pretty balanced game for LSU, but you at least ran the ball better than LSU, all right? So that's one check mark. Winning the turnover battle, you get another check mark because DQ Smith picked off an errant Garrett Nussmeier throw. Peyton Williams read Garrett Nussmeier like a book and identified the play and got an interception on the 1 yard line to keep LSU off the board again. And then in the very beginning of the game, there's a fumble. I think it was Juwan Johnson fumbles at the goal line, and I think that was from DQ Smith as well, making an incredible play to kind of punch the ball out, and you keep them off the board there too. There were 3 different times where you kept LSU out of the end zone because of turnovers and just didn't take any advantage of those turnovers.
Also, one of those times going in, Garrett Nussmeier fumbled and just happened to jump on the ball, but he did fumble, and they were able to get on the ball. So yes, they were very opportunistic in a sort of bend but don't break type of way. One of the things you think about is that they continued to play regardless of how deep in the end zone was, regardless if they were going in. Mm-hmm. That really does show you when you start thinking about character and you start thinking about all the intangibles that you like to throw out when you're losing, because, intangibles only count when you're losing. You got to find something. That's something that you can grab onto, that the team and the defense continued to play despite having their backs against the wall.
And then in terms of dominating the fourth quarter, didn't do that. Lost 3-0 in the fourth quarter. I think your defense played well enough for the most part to keep you in the game, but there's only so much you can ask of them at that point. At some point, that 0 has to change. You got to put something on the board in the fourth quarter, especially considering when you were going into that fourth quarter, it's still a one-score game. You've been playing terribly. You had 15 minutes that could have defined your season. And again, theme of the day, didn't take advantage of anything in that fourth quarter.
Absolutely not. Did not take advantage, did not threaten, did not put any pressure on. It felt the game was only 20-10, and it did not feel that way.
No. Yeah. When LSU went up 17-10, I tweeted it's a 7-point game, but it feels like 21 because of your inability to score, right? I believe when they got to the 26, they got to LSU's 26 before the false start and the intentional grounding, That's the furthest South Carolina went into LSU territory all game, with the exception of Matthew Fuller's home run play that went for 72 yards and scored. I don't think they took a snap inside LSU's 26.
Yeah, so you can't win. Even coaches try to extend the red zone. They talk about like high red zone and whatever. You cannot win a football game if you do not enter the red zone. It's not going to happen, especially when you only have an explosive play that gets to the end zone. That's not a recipe for winning.
And then winning the explosive play battle, that ended up being a tie, 10-10. Both teams had 10 what are considered explosive plays by stat broadcast. Carolina had 3 through the air and 7 on the ground. I think the fact that 7 explosive run plays was something that you would just not have accounted for going into this game, and once again, still couldn't take advantage of it. But the last one is the big one, and it's the biggest one. Play smart football, and I don't think 13 penalties with about 10 operational penalties counts as playing smart football. Not to me.
Yeah, it will never qualify as smart football. It won't ever. And again, just to reemphasize, if you're just joining us, the idea, yes, it was obviously the offense. More specifically, the offensive line. Operational penalties. One holding penalty, you don't want them, but you'll take them. It's within the flow of play. But also the defense, man. 2 offside penalties. One that converted on the first down. You can't do those things when you have such a small margin of error for victory.
Yeah. There's plenty of examples, right? And if you even use the first example of one of South Carolina's turnovers, the first play of the game, right? Knowing the snap count would be considered smart football. I would say knowing the snap count, knowing what's supposed to happen on the first play, maybe it's one thing to have a brain fart like in the flow of the game and you mess something up, but when you have 2 weeks leading into this game and the first thing you do is not understand the snap count, oh man. That qualifies as not playing smart football, and it ultimately ended up just becoming a microcosm of what we all saw on Saturday night, and kind of just that play was kind of the face of the offensive dysfunction.
Yeah, absolutely. But also smart football might be not putting your offense in a disadvantageous situation by making them do something that they only do 7% of the time when they're on the field. That might also be smart football, Elijah.
Yeah, it could be. Or, just know that if you are going to run it under center, that they don't do it a lot, and then maybe you couldn't expect them to run the most fundamental of football plays. Because whatever happens after that, fine, whatever. But we will never know exactly what that first play design was, because it hit the turf as soon as it was snapped. We'll continue to take your calls. We got a couple of you lined up. Joe and Gary, hold on real quick. We'll hit a break, and when we come back, we'll get out to you and a lot more of our texts. 803-404-6100. It's Reaction Monday here on The Game.
Hey, it's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. We had all that demolition we had to do in the kitchen, had a flood, and it was terrible. Had to take it down to the studs. CHW Cabinetry made it so much better for us. They're just a lot of fun to work with in general. Gave us a lot of suggestions and things that we could do. And then we got the photorealistic rendering of our kitchen being finished before it was actually finished. It was kind of nice. You could take it in and say, okay, yes, I need a backsplash. I need flooring, and here is what I'm trying to match it up to. But they can do so much more. You don't have to completely redo a kitchen to take advantage of CHW Cabinetry and all they have to offer. You can do little changes within a closet in a bathroom and a bedroom. You can maybe put some drawers in a pantry and make that a lot more functional, because I'm telling you, that helps too. Lots of opportunities and ways that CHW can help you. Visit chwcabinetry.com. Call them today, 803-520-6837. Tell them Jen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. I-77 northbound at Shop Road. That's I-77 northbound at Shop Road. The 2 left lanes are currently blocked, so obviously going to need to stay right. I-77 northbound at Blythewood Road. That would be exit 27. Also an accident reported there that you will need to make plans to maybe be slowed down there for just a few minutes. 76 for the high today. Things should be clearing out. 80 and some sunshine tomorrow. 81 on Wednesday. Can enjoy a couple of days like that. Currently 61, a little bit of misty conditions out there on the early game.
$404 6100. That's the AAA Heating and Air phone lines because it's Reaction Monday. And we could have made this a 6-hour show if we wanted to. But we only have time for 3. So we'll get your reaction in today, starting with Joe, who's been waiting patiently on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Joe, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning, fellas. The first play of the game kind of gave me a feeling, man. It made my chair uncomfortable for the rest of the match, that first play. But it's crazy that we had almost 200 yards rushing and that we had 3 turnovers on defense and we still yet come up short on winning the game. There's a lot of dysfunctional things going on within the team. I can't put my hand on it. I'm not in the locker room with those guys. I'm not on the practice field with them. But it's too late in the season for us to make boneheaded mistakes as if we were playing our first 2 games. You know, you can make excuses and excuses and excuses. But sometimes people have to hold themselves accountable for the things that they do. There's no way Boyd's family should still yet be having these bad snaps. 7 offside penalties, guys. And then you move the ball as good as you do it, but then you do something stupid to knock yourself back 20 feet. And so, folks just need to hold themselves accountable. When I woke up yesterday and found out what happened with the offensive line coach, decisions are now being made, but, is it too late? Are we losing the team? Are we losing the team? What are these filling in these guys' heads on the team? I just hate to see the way things are going right now, and I hope they fix it. I look forward to them fixing it, but Saturday was sad for us to come off of a 2-week bye and to look as bad as we did. We had some things that looked good, but it all gets thrown under the rug because of all the things that we did bad. Great show as usual, man. I'm feeling kind of bad right now. I hate the way things are going right now with my Gamecocks. Have a great day, guys.
Appreciate your call as always, Joe, and I think a lot of Gamecock fans would share that sentiment. Look, it's one thing if you go to Death Valley and you lose just because LSU beats you, right? Like, that's what LSU's done to a lot of teams in that building over, the decades. But to go in there and have every opportunity to win and lose because you play so sloppy and fundamentally unsound and not playing smart football makes this even worse, right? If it was 20-10 just because LSU's defense was that good and LSU just, kept holding on to the ball and making these long drives and not turning the ball over themselves, then it's one thing. But to have a performance like that off of a bye week, I think Joe's feelings and his thoughts there kind of are a mirror to what, or it's echoed by the rest of the fan base.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's almost it's inexcusable. Not almost. It is inexcusable to have that type of performance. It's one thing to just get beat on its own merit, but to beat yourselves after being told that these things were being corrected, that is a gut punch, especially when you're just watching and you don't know what's going on. That being said, we will have fun today. It is not a great day for reaction, but college football is fun. And even that game, if it wasn't us and you saw a team walk out there and fumble the first snap of the game, we'd be dying. We'd be putting them on the grill. So sometimes you got to point. Sometimes you got to point the gun at yourself, and this is just where we are.
Yeah, and today is going to have a whole lot of pointing the gun at ourselves because that is there's a lot of grill worthiness to be had in that game. We'll go back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines here on a Reaction Monday. Gary is on the line. Gary, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Morning, fellas. The last caller touched on a couple of things, too, and that I want to talk about. And, Preston, you hit on something last week, too, about, LSU and, like, how their linebackers are so aggressive with, the Weeds brothers and Harold Perkins. And I know our offense didn't play up the standards, but I'm pretty sure there are a lot of LSU fans that didn't like how this game turned out either. Brian Kelly didn't do anything great in my eyes on Saturday night. This was a very winnable game. This was worse than the Missouri game from an operational standpoint. I mean, we only saw one play action pass. Preston, that's what you talked about. I only saw it one time. And the little spot or two wide banana looking play that, we get out to the tight end that only got ran twice to make, Lenore's comfortable. You got a running back who has that forward lean that we all talk about, goes up, rips off a 72-yard run, and you never see him again. I don't understand that. I get that, Attaway is the better of the three backs, pass protection-wise, but the guy, you need to get him out there. Like, he's definitely the home run hitter. He's the faster of the backs. He's the more running back of the running backs. I mean, it's just, we have way too much talent on the offensive side of the ball to look the way we did. And you're running basically a stick route on 4th and 4 against probably one of the best corners in the SEC, let alone probably the nation, and you don't even have Nick Harbor on that side. Like, that's something for Nick Harbor. Those bombs down the field that you're throwing to Van Juvius Jacobs, that's literally Nick Harbor. What are we doing? Like, and I get we let go of Lonnie, but there should be a gas league under Mike Shula, too, with a match waiting, because the play calling was absolutely inexcusable. This is one of the worst of the D-lines that LSU has had in recent past. If Harold Perkins 5-10 years ago was playing for LSU, he'd be an outside linebacker, because LSU would have at least 3 guys on that D-line going in the first round, at least 3. This game was inexcusable. And, hopefully Oklahoma, we can do something with that. And John Materia coming off a hand injury looking rusty. So, I don't know, guys, but there's a lot of cleaning up to do, and it's not all on Lonnie Teasley. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, appreciate your call, Gary. Yeah, I mean, it was a team effort on offense in terms of dysfunction, and of course a lot of that is pointed at the offensive line because, I'll let the numbers speak for themselves. Pro Football Focus had Trovon Baugh giving up 6 pressures, Josiah Thompson giving up 5 pressures, Tree Babalade giving up 4 pressures, and Nick Sharp giving up 3 pressures. All in all, just those 4 offensive linemen account for 18 pressures.
Yikes. And it's important. And it's important to note that you're saying pressures, because sometimes sacks can be a quarterback stat. So pressures are on you, right? As the O lineman,
it is directly on you.
Right.
And we talk about sacks being a quarterback stat because sometimes you hold on to the ball too long, and there's not much more the offensive line can do. They can't hold people forever. The inverse, is correct in this game. I think Lenoris was only counted with 2. Maybe 3 sacks. They might have called like an intentional grounding, like a sack in the stat book. But the fact that he was only sacked 2 or 3 times is a testament to his escapability, because he probably should have been sacked 10, at least 10 times. during that game. Reaction Monday will continue. Lee will get to you on the other side, and we'll also continue our discussion on the firing of Lonnie Teasley, since that made headwaves yesterday. 803-404-6100. It's Reaction Monday to Carolina's 20-10 loss to LSU. That's next. It continues. LSU 20, South Carolina 10. In a game that kind of mirrored the Missouri game in terms of you look at going on the road, a game that ended up becoming winnable that you could not take advantage of because of your own self-inflicted mistakes. Back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Lee is on the line with us this morning. Good morning, Lee.
Morning, guys. Really appreciate listening to you guys so early in the morning. It's awesome to hear your voice every day. So, yes, the frustration, I tell you what, man, it took me 3-4 hours to fall asleep after that game. I was so frustrated. I've got two questions here. One is, in regards to the penalties and that illegal formation or false start or whatever on the fake punt, why is that not something that they can't review like a sideline catch with a foot inbounds or, they stopped the clock for some ridiculous reviews before for South Carolina, but they won't stop it for that, just to review and make the right call at that moment. I don't get it.
Yeah, for that one right there, for when it comes to video review, I know they don't review penalties in general. It's kind of like a blanket rule, right? And I've kind of been one of those too, like, maybe you give a coach's challenge for a penalty. You allow them to do that. Unfortunately, that would definitely make these games a whole lot longer, but I definitely understand the frustration there because I do not understand why that flag was thrown at all, especially considering the referee was behind Mason Love. It wasn't like he was still standing over the ball. Like he was behind Mason Love, and I think the explanation Shane Beamer got only made me a little more confused about it.
Yeah, there was not a clear explanation for what it was, and I think it was the wrong call. However, it was a dead ball foul, and those are not once the flag happens, then the play is over. And so, in actuality, the play didn't happen according to the flag.
Exactly, and really the only penalty that gets reviewed is targeting. And even then, when they go to the monitor to review targeting, they only review it not because of the infraction. They review it to see if it's an ejection or not. That's usually the case. Most times they do not rescind the flag after that. Andy is on the phone line.
But you're not wrong in thinking that, Lee. Andy.
Yes.
All right. I just have one question for y'all. One question. How many years has our O-line been subpar? It goes to the coaching. I'm sorry. It's just a recruiting or whatever. It is a recurring theme that has not been fixed. We've had quarterbacks that can throw lights out and do magical things, but they're running for their lives. So that is my question. I'll hang up and listen.
Great question, Andy. We're going to do a segment on this tomorrow, but just to pull from that thread, there's a direct thread from Marcus Satterfield to where we are right now. I'll say that. The offensive line has been an issue for the whole Shane Beamer era. Obviously, we have long Gamecock memory, so we can think of other things, but just for the Shane Beamer era, this has been an era. This has been an issue, and it goes directly to Marcus Satterfield, who was the first offensive OC. So we'll dig on that a little bit more tomorrow. Appreciate the call.
And just on this, definitely. And just on the surface, I mean, I think back, my entire time here, the offensive line has been an issue. Now, this is only football season number 3 that I've been here, but I'm curious to know what fans think, too, in terms of just like a personal reflection on this team and in your fandom. When was the last time that you as a Gamecock fan were satisfied with Carolina's offensive line play? I'm curious to know what people would think, right? When was the last time that you did not view the offensive line as a problem? Because you're probably thinking back for a while.
Yeah, there's a long historical memory, and obviously offensive line is the easy one to pick out, but just for the Shane Beamer era, it has been a glaring issue, and as Andy pointed out, we've had starting quarterbacks, Spencer Rattler, doing some good things in the NFL. Yep. We've had really strong talent during the Shane Beamer era at quarterback, and we have not been able to capitalize on it because we've had subpar offensive lines, and as I said, there's a direct line from Marcus Satterfield to where we are now. And some of those elements, Greg Akis still around in various capacities. So, yes, there is a thread to pull on that.
In terms of, I gave you the pressure totals just from Trovon Ball, Josiah Thompson, Tree Babalade, and Nick Sharp. Would you like to guess the team pressures given up in total on the game?
We had 18 so far, so what do we have now?
24.
Oh.
Lenore Sellers was pressured 24 times. Would you like to guess the percentage that Lenore Sellers was pressured in this game? Of his dropbacks, how many were pressured?
I mean, we're kind of probably somewhere up in like 75%, because how many times did he drop back?
He was pressured 65.
Okay.
40 dropbacks.
That's what I'm thinking.
65% of his dropbacks were under pressure. Look, I don't know if there's ever been a game that highlighted what the offensive line has looked like, quite like what we had on Saturday night, and that's aside from the penalties. Hour number 1 is in the books. We continue Reaction Monday to kick off hour number 2 and react to other things from around the world of football. That's next.
I-77 northbound at Shop Road, that's exit 6. The 2 left lanes are blocked. That's the 2 left lanes are blocked. On I-77 southbound at Bluff Road, the right lane is blocked. And then on I-77 northbound at Blythewood Road, exit 27, we also have a report of an accident, not showing any lanes blocked at this time. But a lot going on I-77 north and southbound. 76 for the high today, 80 tomorrow, 81 on Wednesday. Then we're back in the mid-70s for a few days. Kind of getting rid of some of the mist and all of that icky, damp weather. Kind of getting rid of that later this morning. It's 61 currently.
It's Reaction Monday, and we're breaking down South Carolina's 20-10 loss to LSU to fall to 3-3 on the season. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen, and we are inviting you to come hang out with us and give us your thoughts on the game. 803-404-6100. That's the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. There's plenty of texts that we'll get to as well. But we'll start off. We have two Davids on the line, so there's one David and a David M. But we will get to the first David right now. So David, welcome. Good morning to the early game.
Good morning, guys. First, I wanted to say shout out to Rico Dowdle, and then also a shout out to Penn State because I never was a Franklin fan. The question I got is, how can we really expect Shane Elliott to do a better job than Teasley when, as a run game coordinator, if he's supposed to be heads and shoulders above Teasley, if Teasley wasn't doing things he agreed with, then he should have went to Beamer and say, look, what he's doing is affecting my job. And I'm just not understanding. I mean, I hate for one guy to get blamed for everything when there was more hands in the pot than just his. I'm not understanding why it's like just everything's thrown on Teasley when Elliott's the run game coordinator and Beamer's the head coach. I just don't see how we can expect Elliott to do a much better job. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, good stuff, David. Yeah, appreciate your call, man. And I think that's a very fair point. Like, I mean, I don't know if Sean Elliott being the offensive line coach for this group is automatically going to solve some things. And I agree with the assessment for sure that as the run game coordinator, a lot of the running game struggles and a lot of the dysfunction when it comes to not being able to get push up front does fall on the large shoulders of, the offensive line and Lonnie Teasley and Sean Elliott. I think that's a whole team effort. I think what we've seen with the failures in the trenches is a total team effort across the board.
David, that's a great point. That's something I was trying to make sure that we bring up is that everybody was sitting around the staff table when these teams were failing. So if you weren't speaking up then, I'm not sure if you're going to speak up now. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But maybe what Shane said is that having another voice, maybe a different approach towards those offensive line, just from what we know about Sean and Lonnie, just personality, temperament-wise, Sean is obviously a lot more fiery, a lot more yelly. I don't know if that's a verb, but
yelly.
He's a lot more yelly.
That's a singer, yelly. Oh, no, wait, no, Nelly, okay.
Yeah. Maybe they'll respond to that, but David, I think that is a very fair point. As the run game coordinator, the run game has not been coordinated very well. So whose responsibility is that? I think that's a fair point, David.
And then the first thing David touched on, shout out to Rico Dowdle. He did it again. Again. He's on a tear, man. At this point, does Chuba Hubbard get the starting spot back? I don't know. And Chuba Hubbard's a pretty good running back. But, dude, Rico Dowdle's had a 2-game stretch.
Also,
he's been one of the best running backs in the league for 2 weeks.
Also, Rico, with an all-time quote, told them to buckle up. And then they asked him what happened. He said, they didn't buckle up.
They didn't follow instructions.
I like it.
I love that. So now he's going to become one of the better running backs in the league for a couple weeks and a quote machine, right? So he's honestly maybe the early game's favorite running back in the 2025 season. Well, we'll go back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. David M. So our second David of the morning. David, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning, y'all. My question is, why is it on a third down we're going to throw a curl route to one of the best defensive backs in the country instead of just letting Lenore Sellers run when he could have easily picked up that first down?
Great question. Elijah, would you like to go first?
Oh,
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Oh, man. Look, in that situation there, too, especially like the 4th and 4 with the game on the line, especially when you know that LSU loves to bring pressure. Like, that's Blake Baker's thing, is being aggressive, bringing pressure, blitzing folks, and having their corners play man coverage. Honestly, one of the reasons why LSU's defense failed last year is they didn't have the cover corners they do this year. That's why they paid so much money for Mansour Delane to come from Virginia Tech and play that corner spot, is so Blake Baker can do what he really wants, and that's bring pressure, have your corners play man, and just make you have to beat them that way. And now that he's got Mansour Delane, who is, I believe, he's the best corner I have seen in college football this year. I've seen a lot of good corners. I don't think I've seen one who is consistently disrupting another team's pass game like Delane. Delane has basically shut down half of the field for a good part of this year. And again, one of the reasons why LSU has a top 10 defense after not being a top 10 defense for the last couple of years. So you know it's going to be man coverage. You know they're going to bring pressure. And when I'm assessing, the field before the snap, I want to identify where Delane is, and I don't want to throw it in that direction. Even if you think that's, that hitch is what you want to do and you want to make that a contested catch thing, I don't like Vandrevius Jacobs' chances going up against that guy, because clearly you saw on the play when the pass was thrown there was no separation. And quite frankly, there wasn't going to be separation on that play.
The old classic, stick to him like white on rice. He was on him. That was man coverage and in its perfect form. Yeah, that play call was a failure on several different levels. It showed a lack of creativity, a lack of imagination as far as that play call. And it also goes to the top. Shane Beamer has every opportunity to veto / call a timeout / no, we are not running this call, and that did not happen. So, yes, I think it was a terrible call by the offensive coordinator, but also there's a chain of command in which there were several opportunities for that not to be the call, and it still happened.
That may be the most frustrating part of that play is that the outcome was incredibly predictable before the snap, right? Again, you knew they were going to bring pressure, and they brought pressure on almost half of Lenore Sellers' dropbacks and the game. Because why wouldn't you? I mean, you're getting home every time. You've created 24 pressures on the entire game. It was definitely one of the more mind-boggling things I think that we saw on Saturday. And again, another microcosm, whether it be players, coaches, having that type of performance after coming off of the bye week is inexcusable, and that's how you lose the game. That's how you lose a game that was incredibly winnable. Despite how poorly you played, you went into the fourth quarter with the game being winnable. And ultimately, plays like that fourth down, the decisions made like on that fourth down, kind of accelerated the game starting to be put out of reach. Even though it was a 7-point game at the time, it felt like 21 because of how many times they end up shooting themselves in the foot throughout the game. Going back to AAA Heating and Air phone lines, Marv is on the line. Good morning, Marv. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning, guys. I want to preface this by saying that I think Shane Beamer can succeed here. But to follow that up, it was reported by Jordan Kay that Shane Beamer told his guys that Fuller needed to get the ball more, and then his coaches did not respond and did not do what he asked. That tells me that there's dereliction of duty going on that coaching staff. And it should not be accepted. It should not be accepted by the fan base, and it should not be accepted by Shane Beamer. He's going to have to start putting on his big boy pants and being a football coach instead of a friend, and I'll hang up and listen.
I appreciate the call, Marv. And, look, if that's the case, and he was telling them to give Matt Fuller the ball more than what he was getting, that they needed to get him more involved, especially after that 72-yard touchdown, and he didn't get it, then the issues are a lot steeper than maybe we thought, and we already knew the issues were pretty steep.
Yeah, if Shane's saying, hey, we need to get Matt Fuller the ball because he's obviously the hot hand, and that doesn't happen, there's two problems. Either, that was a great phrase, either there's a dereliction of duty, you're not following instructions, and or, to Shane's point, hey, Shane, when you see somebody else go out there, yank them out. You can say no. You can pull them out. You are the ultimate one. It's not like, oh, my coaches were making decisions. No, you see Rasul Faison, who did run well, so that's not what we're actually saying. But when you see somebody else go down there, you can, if it's that bad, call a timeout, get what you want on the field. There's nobody else who are making these decisions except you. if it's not being done, you can address it then, and then obviously you can address it later. But I think that's a great point, Marv, and that was a great phrase and as a dereliction of duty, because if they're not doing what the coach is asking him to do, then there's obviously some – what we have here is a failure to communicate.
How many times have we said that this year?
Yeah, maybe that might be the caption.
Well, I mean, we have that example from the LSU game, and it was after the Vanderbilt game where Casey Henry was kind of breaking down communication issues. I think it was South Carolina State breaking down communication issues that they had in that game, and it seemed to have been pretty rampant. I mean, it doesn't appear to be a team that communicates anywhere well enough to be able to win ball games right now, and that's alarming. It is a pretty alarming thing to see that, and it's just if it's not one thing, it's another. And I kind of likened it so far this year, Preston, to playing whack-a-mole, right? Mm-hmm. Where you feel like you might fix something and then something else pops up. But then sometimes when you play whack-a-mole, you don't hit any of the moles, right? Like your moles are just popping up everywhere, and you're not making any contact with any of them, and that's when you start feeling really overwhelmed. And we have communication issues. We have some decision-making questions going on, and the sloppiness of just the play on the field too, right? I mean, 13 penalties in this game. That's kind of like, if I have to try to sum up this game, it's those penalties, right? Whether it's the false starts, the offsides, and Lenora Sellers will not be exempt from this. Yes, he ran for his life, and yes, he probably avoided 8 to 9 sacks in this game, but 2 intentional grounding penalties that are absolute killers because A, they're long penalties, and B, they are you lose the down. It's a loss of down penalty. There's just what has stuck in my mind over the weekend was the sequence where you get to LSU's 26. You have a chance to tie this thing up and really turn this game on its head, and you have a false start penalty and then an intentional grounding. So you go from it being 1st and 10 on the LSU 26 to 2nd and 29 on the LSU 45. And that is exactly how that game felt, summed up in 3 plays.
Yeah, and as I kept saying, I think there was a reoccurring theme as we did the watch along. Shout out to Tyler, hung with the early game on Saturday.
Filling in.
My reoccurring theme was, I don't think we have a play call for 3rd and 18. I don't know where on the play sheet we have one for 3rd and 15. And as it bared out by the numbers, the average third down distance was 10.3 yards. So that's going to be impossible. And what do you know? 0 for 7 on 3rd and longs. 3 for 3 on 3rd and shorts. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, it's almost like it's easier to get a first down when you're closer to the line of gain. I mean, crazy theory here. Maybe needing more evidence to support this.
Elijah, we might be onto something here.
I think we've cracked the code, right? I feel like the Stonks meme, right? Like we have figured it out. we have noticed a trend here, and the trend isn't the trend for the team isn't very good, and we have a whole lot more to get to. There are so many texts. We're going to get so many more calls throughout the day too, because this is about as frustrating a loss as you could possibly conjure up. I think if you told me before the game that it was going to be a 20-10 game, LSU's going to win, I was going to say, okay, that would seem predictable. But the how we got here is truly the thing that I am blown away by, and that we're going to try to figure out leading into the Oklahoma game later this week. But coming up next, it's our early game morning meeting. We can take a break in this meeting from the doom and gloom of what happened in Death Valley on Saturday night, because one former Gamecock has further entrenched themselves into sports immortality, and we'll tell you who that is coming up next.
Presser here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is shattered, damaged, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, and they'll give you a free quote for any job. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows and mirrors. And Absolute Glass will take care of that for you, too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. You say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
I-77 southbound at Shop Road, the left lane continues to be blocked. And also at I-77 northbound at Shop Road, we have a report of an accident now. So both directions on I-77, exit 6. Atlas Road near Garner's Ferry, we also have a report of a slowdown there. And the kind of rainy, misty conditions will be clearing out. 76 is the high. We'll have overnight low of 56. Our overnight lows will actually be in the mid 50s most of the week. Thursday morning or into Friday morning, I should say, it'll be a overnight low of about 50. So it'll be cool, extra cool on Friday morning. But right now it is 61 on the early game.
Asia Wilson's on top, top, top. Can't take her spot, spot, spot. She's a real one. Always does what she'll do.
Oh my goodness, this is a great feeling.
She won MVP, P, 1, 2, and 3. Her game is T. She made history, free. From the mid, it's a rap. All buckets, no cap. They say she wasn't good enough.
Oh, that. Yes, you hear that and you already know that Gamecock legend and best women's basketball player on planet Earth, Asia Wilson, wins yet another WNBA title because over the weekend, the Las Vegas Aces beat the Phoenix Mercury 97-86, brought out the brooms, and swept the Mercury in the finals. And in those 4 games, Asia Wilson, 21-10, 28-14, 34-14, and 31-9 in the decisive closeout game. And with that being said, it's time to start the morning meeting by taking a look at maybe the greatest professional Gamecock we've ever seen. Hit it, Jen.
Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day. Let's go. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
Yes, it will be. We'll make it an awesome day. We are going to make it an awesome Monday. And we're going to start by taking a look at Preston Thorne. Look, I want to reel off all of these things to you, right? These are all the things that Asia Wilson has done once she left South Carolina, where she brought the school their first ever national title. So we already have that.
Do we have enough time for this? Let's go.
All right, I got to make it quick. All right. 4-time MVP, 3-time WNBA champion, 5-time block champion, rookie of the year, 5-time all-defense, a community assist award, a finals MVP, 7-time all-star, 2-time scoring champ, 3-time defensive player of the year, all-rookie team, 5-time all-WNBA, and the 2024 Dawn Staley Award. Oh, yeah, and some gold medals sprinkled in there, too. And all of that I just squeezed into a short amount of time, Preston, was done before she turned 30.
Listen, man, we've said this over and over. We've been a champion. We know we are familiar with Asia Wilson, but she is the best women's basketball player on the planet. And you would probably even further stretch that to say the most dominant player on the planet shooting a basketball right now at this moment. It's clear she probably didn't even need to win this championship to do that, but with another title, especially where the team came from this year, when she just decided, hey, you know what? We're done with this. I'm the greatest. I'm going to be the greatest, and let me lead my team to the promised land. It's been fascinating to watch, and I cannot overstate this. How cool is it that the best player on the planet is from Columbia, South Carolina, Hopkins to be specific? That is amazing.
And I believe she played her high school ball at Heathwood Hall, too.
Correct.
So great day for one Heathwood Hall. I mean, there you take your victory lap if if you're an alum or you work over there at Heathwood Hall. Take your victory lap, because this is pretty damn cool to have a player like Asia Wilson represent your program. Again, maybe most dominant pro athlete under easily the most dominant pro athlete under 30 right now. But even if you look at the NFL, right? Patrick Mahomes has 3 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
He's got as many championships as Asia Wilson. He just turned 30. Asia's got more MVPs. Obviously in basketball it's a little different because you play both ways, but to lead the league in blocks 5 times, be the defensive player of the year 3 times.
I think that's really important to note, because if we watched her when she was at South Carolina, let's just say she did not come in wanting to play a lot of defense. That was not the thing that she was recruited for. And that was part of her growth and maturity with Coach Staley, was that she grew into this defensive force. And it wasn't by choice. It was the thing that they consistently had to work on with her game. And it's been really cool to see her become part of her dominance as again, the best basketball player on the planet. As I stated before, Elijah, it's always fascinating to me when somebody, we always say the prince that was promised, well, the princess that was promised. when you are supposed to be the best, and then at every step of the way, you prove yourself to be the best, and it's not stopping. To me, like, I couldn't fathom that level of pressure as supposed to being the best, and then you actually end up being that. It's incredible. So any athlete that falls into that category, I'm already enamored with, and it just so happens that she's ours.
Because those are the best stories, right? Those are my favorite ones, because so many people get hyped up to be the next best thing, right? And more often than not, they don't reach those expectations, even if they are still pretty good, right? Like, there are plenty of players who have been taken number one, and they've been hyped up to be this thing, and they still have good careers, relatively speaking, but never lived up to what they might have supposed to have been, right? But watching A'ja do all of this, again, before turning 30, like, that's the wild thing. She's still very much so in her prime, and that laundry list of accolades will only continue to grow. Here in our morning meeting, too, kind of like the football game the other night, right? You have some good news, and then bad news pops up. As we were reading off what A'ja Wilson has done this year, I received an email. It's from the Athletic Communications and Public Relations at South Carolina with some women's basketball news that is breaking. And that is that Chloe Kitts is out for the 25-26 season. So the email reads, South Carolina women's basketball senior Chloe Kitts has been diagnosed with a torn ACL in her right knee that requires surgery and will be out for the 2025-2026 season. She is expected to have surgery this week. So while we celebrate,
Is she gonna
the greatest Gamecock.
Is she going to recuperate in Canada?
Oh, yeah, maybe hang out with Colin a little bit.
A little bit.
Who did score his first bucket in the preseason on Nikola Jokic.
Oh,
that's a nice one.
Nice.
A good player to score your first bucket on.
Yeah.
Doesn't count because it's a preseason game, but he did it. But, yeah, I think the perfect summary of a Gamecock weekend is the segment we had where we carved out some time to celebrate A'ja Wilson, only for some bad basketball news for the program.
Feels apropos.
Yeah, you could say that. But so for those who just missed it, Chloe Kitts just sent an email from Gamecock Communications that she will be missing the 25-26 season due to a torn ACL. But we'll get back to your calls and texts to 803-404-6100, Firehouse Subs text line, AAA Heating and Air phone lines. South Carolina football falls to LSU 20-10 in Death Valley, and we got a lot of calls and texts to get to, so we'll get to those next. Thank you. See, we're like 2 days away from midway through being in October. And if you're like me, then you like to have people over during the fall for fall get-togethers. I love having people over to watch football. I love hosting on Thanksgiving and other holidays. It's one of my favorite things to do, but I'm not going to do it if the carpet isn't up to snuff, right? So Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning helps me in that realm because of things like zero water technology. It's their non-toxic, safe for people, pets, and the planet cleaner. No soap, equals no residue, just soft, fluffy carpets that stay clean longer. And this month, Zero Res can help you out the same way they help me out, right? Just mention my name, Elijah Campbell at 107.5 The Game, and you can get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $119. So take advantage of that deal today by going to ZeroResColumbia.com.
I-77 southbound at Shop Road, the left lane continues to be blocked. A few more accidents out there. Atlas Road at Garner's Ferry, also Hugie at Blossom. I-26 westbound at Airport Boulevard and Lower Richland Boulevard at Garner's Ferry Road. So a few things to be mindful of this morning. It should be clearing. 76 is the high we're looking for. Sunny and 80 tomorrow. 81 for your Wednesday, but it's currently 61.
U20, South Carolina 10. That was the final in Baton Rouge on Saturday night. And, well, the score might have been predictable, but the way to get there was the not predictable part. 13 penalties. Running the ball for almost 200 yards, yet still turning LSU over 3 times, and somehow finding a way to not get in the end zone more than once and not take a snap inside LSU's 26. All of that resulting in a 3-3 start for South Carolina now that we are at the halfway point of the 2025 season. It's Reaction Monday, so we're taking your calls and your texts. We'll start by going back out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines where Mike has been waiting patiently. Mike, good morning. Oh, and let's go to Donnie. Mike has left the building. So, Donnie, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing this morning?
Pretty good. How are you?
I got 2 questions, and really first I want to start about sending my condolences out to Lonnie Teasley's family, and I'm sure that was kind of a hard blow to get on a Sunday, but should have been maybe expected. Kudos to Coach Beamer for finally pulling the trigger. I'm sure that wasn't easy for him, but my question is the Green. What's Green's measurement? 6'7", 240.
Yep, 6'7".
And what is that? And what is Nick Harbor?
I want to say Nick Harbor is 6'4". I'm not sure on the weight, the listed weight.
6'4", around 230. I mean, it seemed like every time they threw to Green, it seemed like Judge Collier was on an island, and I just didn't wonder why we don't try to utilize Nick Harbor like that.
Yeah, let's see.
I mean, that dude was unstoppable.
Great question, Donnie. Appreciate the call. Yeah. Appreciate you listening. And
6'5", Nick Harbor.
I too have the same questions. All you can say is that sometimes, they always talk about the NFL being a copycat league, coaches copy. I hope those coaches are studying the tape and seeing how to utilize and more specifically target a weapon. It looked like they said, hey, we are going to try and get Trey'Dez the ball, and we're going to try and figure out unique ways within our scheme to do it, and it looked like they did it. Donnie, you're not the only one who has that same question that I have.
Yeah, and well, here's the thing with LSU, too. It took them a while to get to that point because Trey'Dez Green had 11 targets on Saturday night. You remember on Old Man versus Analytics last week when I told you Trey'Dez Green was targeted 6 times all season?
Mm-hmm.
6.
It's
they
almost
targeted him 6 times all year.
It's almost as if somebody in the offensive staff said, hey, we got this huge, fast dude that can catch balls. Let's throw it to him.
Yeah.
And somebody else in the staff was like, yeah, maybe that's a good idea.
You know what? Maybe our 6'7", 240-pound tight end might be a mismatch problem for somebody. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. Because, look, Trey'Dez Green, those hands were rated E for everyone on Saturday night because it didn't matter if it was Judge Collier. It didn't matter if it was DQ Smith. It didn't matter who it was that was guarding him, right? Everybody got their turn trying to guard Trey'Dez Green, and they couldn't do it. Right? And usually what LSU's done with him this year has been just once they get into the red zone, then he becomes a target. And he'll just post up like a basketball player in the corner of the end zone. They'll throw the ball to him. He'll just go up and get it. And that's what happened on Saturday night on many occasions. And it wasn't even just the red zone. They used him all over the field, which leads you to believe, hey, LSU, why did it take you 5 games to utilize a guy who actually might end up being your best receiver or best pass catcher? And look, what Donnie just laid out is completely valid for Nick Harbor too. And I've taken the approach of, teams are covering him a little differently, but you've got to be able to find ways to get Nick Harbor the ball. I mean, he had 36 yards on 2 catches. Right, but I think there needs to be more than 3 targets.
Yeah, but it goes back.
The target numbers needs to go up.
Absolutely, and it goes back to that's the point. The targets numbers need to go up because at a certain point, you knew it, I knew it, Donnie knew it, everybody in the stadium knew, like, hey, they're going to try and throw the ball to that dude. And you know what? I don't care. Stop them. You can't just say, oh, man, well, they're taking it away, and now we're going to have to go. No, man, make them stop it. Until they stop it, then you don't do something else. And I think that's a very clear example that, I don't know, probably somewhere around 5 or 6 targets, he's starting to say, oh, they're doing a thing here. And they continuously did it.
And because they notice it's a mismatch problem. And that's what Nick Harbor is, too. I mean, Jen confirmed, 6'5", 235 for Nick Harbor. So he's only 5 pounds lighter and 2 inches shorter than Trey-Dez Green. Can be used like that. Absolutely can be used like that. And for Gamecock fans, too, I totally understand the frustration of seeing LSU utilize that guy and that body and that athletic skill set to be able to get results, right? 8 for 119 yards and a touchdown. And you know what I think LSU's going to start doing more this year? Targeting Trey-Dez Green.
Correct.
I think, first 5 games, 6 targets. Should we go out on a limb and say he's going to get more than 6 targets for the last 6 games?
I would imagine so. I imagine it in the alternate universe on 107.5 The Game in Baton Rouge. Somebody is very happy. Somebody has been calling for this to happen. I'm sure if we go through the message board, somebody say, I told you we should have been throwing to him all season.
Yes. Oh, God. Yeah. Like, well, you have this guy. Why don't you throw him the football? And, things worked out pretty well because it turns out when you are 6'7", 240, you're going to present some matchup problems. Plenty of text on the Firehouse Subs text line. We'll start with Brandon from Newberry, who says, is our offensive issues more personnel issues or coaching issues?
I mean, you could probably get into a chicken or the egg type of argument, but I'd say for me personally, you have to start with I always start with coaching. It starts with coaching, and that's where the buck stops. And so that's always my first place to look for.
And here's an interesting question, for you two, Preston, because you'd be able to weigh in on this pretty well. This is from Travis. He says, my question, maybe I missed it, but what puzzles me is why our play calling is setting up other plays. It seems we have no rhyme or reason on what we call.
I think that's a very fair assessment. Again, I've watched the team for every game this year. I still don't really have a clear idea of what we're attempting to do. As I said, by the time we finished out watching LSU's offense, you had a pretty clear idea, like, hey, they don't run the ball well. They're going to try and get the ball out in the screen. And, oh, yeah, by the way, they're going to try and target this huge dude. That felt like I knew what they were attempting to do. After 7 games, I still don't really have a great idea of who and what we are.
Yeah, that's what we've been trying to talk about, or at least pinpoint over these 6 or 7 weeks. Right? Is what is the identity of the South Carolina offense? I know they want to be able to be balanced, and I think every time that Mike Shula has been asked about it, he leads off every single one with we want to be balanced, right? And we've gone to, hey, well, balance isn't necessarily your strength here. You do these things really well, and you knew coming into this game that play action has been your best offense, and you were only able to throw 4 passes out of play action. Now, they technically were credited with 6, but no pass was made because Lenoris ended up scrambling. But you run how many snaps in this game? I'm looking at it now in terms of total plays. He had 72 total plays in this game, and 6 for play action. I'm not saying you run 72 play action plays, but at some point, You've got to be able to do what you do best, and that even includes the offensive line blocking better for it. Again, pressures on 65% of the snaps in that game. 65%. And really, it's hard to even get an offensive identity if plays get blown up from the beginning of it.
That's a fact, and that's absolutely true. And my counter argument would be, hey, at some point we have to realize we can't block these dudes. So now what? Now what do we do to counter that? Because just sitting back and hoping like, hey, maybe we'll block them this time doesn't seem like that's a great strategy. Hope is never a strategy.
Right, right. I can either adjust in one hand and hope in the other, and I think the adjusting thing is going to be what gives me a little more more results. But that's the wild thing. There's a lot more to break down. We'll continue this discussion on the other side, breaking down some of the struggles of this Gamecock offense and trying to pinpoint exactly what it is and where do you go from here. You only took one snap inside LSU's 26. Well, actually, you didn't even get to take that snap because a false start penalty moved it back to the 31. So the offense clearly an issue here. What do they need to do to move forward now that we're going into playing more really good defenses, a tougher part of the schedule? We'll break that down and also talk about a coach who went from freezer to grill to charred in record time. That's next here on the early game. This has to be a record. I know it is for at least our bit of putting coaches on the grill. But Preston Thorne, I don't think there has been a faster grilling than what happened to Penn State's James Franklin. Because that man went from the freezer to the grill to being charred in record time. It's almost like taking it out of the freezer, not thawing it, putting it on a grill, and burning it in 30 seconds. Because that's what it felt like when a team that was preseason number 2, one of the favorites to be a national champion at the beginning of the season, starts off 3-0, takes a top 10 Oregon team to double overtime at home, loses a heartbreaker, and then loses consecutive games as at least 20.5-point favorites in both of them. It went from that to fired that quick. It took 3 weeks.
I mean, to say this is amazing would be an understatement. This is why college football is so awesome, because nobody had this predicted. Nobody, even if we knew he was big game James, we knew he couldn't win against top 10. Nobody ever thought that this was going to. Let me remind you, Elijah, Buddy just came off of going to the semifinals last year.
Right? The farthest they've ever been.
They've never seen heights this far. And that's one of my things that I might come back to a little bit. But yeah, it's sort of like when you put that burger on the grill and all the grease is dripping in it and all of a sudden you got fire. You're like, oh, what happened? How'd this happen so quickly? This was went from 0 to 100 very quickly. And good luck, Penn State. We'll see how this goes. I hope you get what you want, but this is fascinating.
And here it's going to be an absolute cautionary tale of be careful what you wish for. Like, yes, what happened at Penn State this year is truly mind-boggling, and it doesn't help things that Drew Aller got hurt against Northwestern, and now he is out for the year. And of course, his lack of development over the last couple of years is maybe one of the reasons why this decision was made. But just 3 weeks ago, they were 3-0. Like, just 3 weeks ago, they were 3-0, and they were, they were in the top 5. And that's a roster that's one of the best rosters in the country. Like, coming into the season, you look at every position group, and you're like, it doesn't look like they have a place of, like, real weakness, right? Like, you could say maybe wide receiver, but Penn State at wide receiver is better than what most teams' weaknesses are, right? Like, this is a team that was built to be incredibly successful. And the loss to Oregon, excusable. Again, still, it's the big game James thing. But then to lose as a 25.5-point favorite to UCLA, and then as a 21.5-point favorite against Northwestern is completely unfathomable. But I did not think that was going to result in a firing. I did not think Preston Thorne would be sitting here on October 13th and James Franklin got booted before Billy Napier did.
Billy Napier somehow survived. He's somehow he's still rolling. Yeah, I think we're going to look at this as a flashpoint in college athletics, because at first we thought there's no way they could fire Jimbo Fisher. He's got a $70 million buyout. They did it. Well, there's no way they can fire James Franklin. He's 104-45 in his record. 104-45. Yes. He's 4-21 versus top 10 teams. Yes, he's 1-10 versus Ohio State, but he's 104-45. And he just got booted after losing 3 of those 45. I think this is fascinating. This is a very much an insight into where college athletics is going. And as I said before, and I'll say one more time, Penn State, who do you think you are? Because I'm not sure if you are better than this. Good luck.
You know, and you're going to get a kick out of this, Preston Thorne. You're going to love this. You know, the name I've seen on multiple reports on who, like, the name to watch for is?
Tell me.
Matt Rule.
Oh, mid-game Matt. We back, baby.
Oh, imagine firing James Franklin to hire Matt Rule.
Man, listen. Matt does a great job of talking himself into jobs all the time. He's improved Nebraska, yes. Go ask Panther fans how they felt about the tenure there. I don't know. Is that a remarkable upgrade? Maybe. I don't think so, but okay. Is it $50 million worth? I don't think so. But who am I? Money's an actual thing to me. Apparently, it's not to these athletic departments.
Well, especially considering I think Penn State was one of the schools that laid off a lot of their athletic department employees after the House settlement.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say they were one of those schools. And so don't cry broke to me and then find $50 million to fire sitting head coach who has an absurd winning percentage with you and took you to the college football playoff semifinal last year. Just don't go crying broke to me after that. Just don't. If you do, it's going to fall upon deaf ears. I'm not going to have it.
Yeah, this is very fascinating. I'm really interested to see what James Franklin's next stop on because I assume he's not finished coaching. So the coaching carousel is spinning wildly.
It's already a wild season. Like on the field, the coaching carousel is proving to be equally as wild. 2 hours down, 1 to go. We'll continue Reaction Monday. Plenty of texts to get to. We'll get to those and keep reacting to South Carolina's loss to LSU next.
Hey, are you looking for a countertop for a kitchen or a bath? Maybe you want to update your yard with some hardscaping? Well, I have the place, and that's Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. They do understand kitchen and bath projects they can be a significant investment, and that's why they work hard to deliver the highest quality, most affordable granite, marble, and quartz while providing the best customer service. It's simple, great countertops with no compromises. You see what I mean when you go check out their indoor showroom. I encourage you to check out their outdoor showroom as well. You will not only be impressed, but truly inspired. We started working with Carolina Stone Craftsman when we remodeled a couple of bathrooms, replaced our cabinets, of course needed some countertops. First visit them. The first visit was great. The visit to the showroom gave us so many ideas, and they helped us through the entire process. If you need countertops for your kitchen or bath, reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman. Tell them Jen Jensen sent you. They're family-owned and operated just beyond Columbia and Chapin and beyond your expectations. Visit them at carolinastonecraftsman.com. Definitely picked up on the highways this morning. I-77 northbound at Blythewood Road. That's exit 27. That's currently closed due to an accident. So again, allow for a different change in your route. I-77 northbound at Blythewood Road. The highway is blocked. I-77 southbound in two different locations. Shop Road at exit 6 on I-77 southbound. The left lane is blocked. I-77 southbound at Percival, exit 15. The two right lanes are currently blocked. Atlas Road at Garner's Ferry, Hugie at Blossom, I-26 westbound at Airport Boulevard, and Lower Richland Boulevard at Garner's Ferry. Kind of a mess out there. Looking for a high today of 76.
Hour number 3 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. We are reacting to South Carolina's 20-10 loss to LSU in Baton Rouge on Saturday night. And a game that is marred by mistakes and marred by a lot of things that have plagued this South Carolina team this season. Poor protection, poor offensive line play, not being opportunistic even when the defense is able to give you the ball back in certain areas. And it didn't come without any side effects or any results of it, because Lonnie Teasley was announced yesterday that he has been fired as the offensive line coach for the South Carolina Gamecocks. Sean Elliott will presume the role of offensive line coach for the remainder of the season. And we're taking your reaction all morning, too. Jay from the Interstate says, football team is undisciplined. It makes way too many mistakes. That screams coaching to me. Also, Fuller not touching the ball again in the first half. No excuse. More changes need to be made. And Preston, I think that's a pretty prevailing thought in the fan base right now, is the way this offense is played this year has really held you back, and a lot of it is self-inflicted mistakes on the field and maybe some decision-making when it comes to this team that has really kept them from utilizing, or I guess reaching, the potential we thought this team had at the beginning of the year.
Right. Being undisciplined, that is a function of coaching, and that is frustrating to watch as a fan, frustrating to see that put on the field week after week. Remember, we're coming off a bye week, coming off of 2 weeks removed from the Missouri game where we had all of those penalties. You would have hoped that things were being corrected, and it seems like they're back in the same spot for that. And that is absolutely frustrating. And coaching is only responsible for the discipline. That is what your job is. Hey, you never know what talent you might have, but there are certain things you can guarantee, especially when you look at the nature of the penalties. It's not as if they're getting called for holding or they're getting called for hands to the face or anything that happens during the play. These are all procedural things that you have control over, presumably that you practice.
When do we do get on the line?
Wednesday still.
Okay.
But
I'm kind of anxious.
You ready? Yeah. A lot of folks need to be getting on the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be a long list.
We might have to get on the line into 2 seconds.
Well, and I'm wondering, do they get on the line vertically or horizontally? Because do we have so many people that we need more room?
Need more space.
Yep.
Yeah. Here's the breakdown of the penalties, right? So we will count the procedural penalties. 13 in total. An illegal snap, a false start, a false start, a false start, intentional grounding, holding, illegal snap, false start, intentional grounding, offsides, pass interference, offsides. Counted 9 procedural penalties. 9 of the 13 being procedural penalties.
That's inexcusable, and that all comes down to coaching. Even the intentional groundings. Because you would go to your quarterback and coach, and you would say, "Hey, your quarterback can't do that. Let's practice that. Let's work on that. Let's talk him through that." But the quarterback coach is also the offensive coordinator. He has to be responsible for at least preaching those to his players that you can't take that sack and you can't take that grounding in that situation.
Because the intentional grounding, for all intents and purposes, is a sack, right?
Yes.
Like the penalty is designed to simulate a sack. The reason that it is a penalty is because you are getting rid of the ball in an illegal manner when you are about to be sacked, right? Like that's the nature of the rule like there. And intentional grounding is one of those penalties too that I can give you one in a game, but after that you cannot do that. You have to think of an intentional grounding as a sack, right? And the more you do it, the more frustrating it is, and that is a drive killer. Right, I can't remember what the stat is right now, but like the percentage of first downs that occur after sacks, very low on a drive. It's equally as bad on an intentional grounding penalty, and those are mental errors. So many things that happened in that game Saturday night were just the result of mental errors. And look, we might have expected something like this in the first game in Atlanta when Carolina played Virginia Tech, because we would chalk it up to week one-iness, right? But the week one-iness should die in week 1, right? You might have some sprinkled throughout the year because mistakes happen, right? But to have that happen on October 11th, when you are in game number 6, we are now halfway through the season, and we're still talking about things like false starts, rampant, offside, all these different types of procedural penalties. That is where it gets to where, yes, that those changes have to be made, because clearly something is not working. You are running out of time. You're halfway through the season, and we're still talking about things that we might have anticipated talking about in late August and early September, but now it has gotten to mid-October, and we're still looking at the same issues that have plagued them in the other 2 losses.
And if it had been, it'd be just like, okay, 1 or 2 dumb stuff happens, but when you're getting into double digits, good Lord.
And it's repetitive, and it's over time, and you as a fan, you can believe your eyes, because in 2023 we were 114th out of 133 teams in sacks given up. In 2024 we were 128th out of 134 teams. This is not something that just started. This has been a thing ongoing. So if you as a fan, if you've been watching and you feel like this is something that has been happening, and they've been trying to kind of say that, oh, well, we're improving, we're getting better, we're trending in. No, they're not. And this is where we are right now.
It's not the first time that's beaten you, too. I mean, think about losses like in seasons over the course of the years. You might be able to chalk 1 or 2 losses up, like one loss, up to, we just really shot ourselves in the foot all game. Well, now it's 2 where you really shot yourselves in the foot the entire game. I'd say Vanderbilt maybe more a result of just not being able to tackle on defense, and then offense being more dysfunctional from an execution standpoint. But that's 2 games now where you haven't given yourself a chance to execute at a high level, right? Because you're killing the play before it starts. And then defense, like with offsides, you're then giving away 5 yards without the offense having to do anything. That's where, to me, it gets, completely wild. And now, we are 6 games in the season. 2 games you have completely wasted because of very avoidable penalties, incredibly avoidable penalties. And in a game in which your defense did a lot of stuff to get the ball back. Now, it wasn't the defense's best day, considering LSU ran the ball at will on Saturday night. But you get in a game where the other team is giving you chances to keep coming back, and you don't take advantage of it, not because you're not executing, but because you don't give yourself a chance to execute, is really what makes this unfathomable result.
And when you look at those numbers, obviously Lonnie Teasley being the casualty of this, Shane said that he's not a fall guy, but he is a fall guy because everybody else is there, right? When they're having staff meetings, there's one chair that's empty, and that would be Lonnie Teasley. So he was the fall guy, and that's fine. He might have had to be that, but he's the fall guy for this, and I want to make sure we spell this out because these are not my words. These are just the facts. SEC ranking in total yards, last. SEC ranking in scoring offense, last. SEC ranking in rushing offense, 15th. SEC ranking in passing offense, 14th. SEC ranking in sacks allowed, 15th. SEC ranking in tackles for loss, 14th. That is not mine. That is the numbers.
Can you remind us how many teams are in the SEC?
I'm sorry, yeah, because it could have been, you're right. That's a good number. Good job, Jen. 15 out of 16, 14 out of 16, 15 out of 16, and 14 out of 16.
Just wanted.
You're right. You do need to know where the bottom is. Yeah. We are there.
Pretty damning stuff. I mean, it's pretty damning stuff. And then you look at the personnel that you've had on offense these past few years too. It shouldn't be that result, right? You've had offenses with a guy who's currently a starting quarterback in the NFL and is playing pretty well, right? In Spencer Rattler, it's an NFL starting quarterback, a first-round draft pick at wide receiver. You now have Lenore Sellers, who I still believe will be a first-round pick in the NFL draft just because of the tools that he has, and he seems to be coachable enough. A team's going to take him in the first round. Feel really good about that still. And you have somebody like Nick Harbor, who is 6'5", 235, with all-world track speed at wide receiver. You have highly recruited, in terms of star ranking and all that stuff that we talk about in the world of recruiting. You've had weapons. You've had 2 NFL caliber quarterbacks. The offense should never be where it is. I'm just going back and thinking about the point outputs on this offense this season. 17 against Virginia Tech, 17 against an FCS opponent in South Carolina State, 7 against Vanderbilt, right? 20 against Missouri, 21 against Kentucky, and then 10 against LSU. Just nowhere good enough to be able to get the job done in a season in which you liked what you had enough to be in potential college football playoff discussions. That has been completely derailed because of so much of the dysfunction that you've had on offense.
Yeah, and that's where it feels really frustrating because it feels like this right now this season is a disappointment. We'll get into the rest of the season because the season's not a failure yet. There's still more games to play, and there's still an opportunity to turn around. You have to believe that, especially over there in the facility. That being said, it is a remarkable disappointment when you look at what you thought you have and what the results pair it up with that. That is disappointing.
Go back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Mike is on the line right now. I want to talk about some procedural issues because Lord knows there were plenty of them on Saturday night. Mike, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, thank you, guys. Just wanted to ask you, what is I saw it on one replay where they showed it on TV. What is the center? What is Stanley doing that he can't stop doing? Is he just every time moving the ball or snapping it before the correct count? Because the announcers actually said he should go ahead and snap it. But is he just moving the ball? But he's getting a majority of those calls, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. He's getting a lot of them. I want to go back and look for through each penalty. I'll do that later in the week when we break it down, a little in further detail. To get a real breakdown of how many of these have been Boaz Stanley, but there's a lot of illegal snaps, a lot of stuff like that has been happening. And look, again, it's just kind of like the false start, like you're killing a play before it even begins, right? And if your center's doing it a lot, then that's a pretty bad precedent to set because they're pretty important because they have to start the entire play. But yeah, Mike's right. I mean, a majority of these penalties have been Boaz Stanley.
And this is where maybe Elijah, I might have to put you on assignment here when we get to ask the coaches some questions because I'm not sure what the actual operation is. I'm not sure if they're going. It looks like they were going on various counts, which I think there's an issue, especially going back to your earlier reporting saying how it was loud as heck in there. So if it's
that's a nice way of saying it. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's loud as heck, probably don't want to be going on various counts. You probably want to be going on a similar count. Yes, maybe the defense can start to predict and they can do things, but that's better than what you have. So you have to find out some procedural issues. But yes, it does feel like there's a disconnect between the center because Newsome was guilty of it also, between the center and the quarterback and the rest of the line as opposed to when the snap is supposed to be happening.
Yeah, and look back at the first play of the game, too. I mean, you fumble the snap under center on the very first play, and after the game, Shane Beamer kind of alluded to, Rodney Newsome not knowing what the snap count was. So you're going on various snap counts. Sometimes the players don't know what the snap counts are, and then that's how you end up getting the result that you have. Ultimately, the result is, unfortunately, a discombobulated mess. That is definitely what I think a lot of people would consider a thorn on the weekend. But coming up next, Preston has his thorns, buds, and roses, giving out some accolades for the things that happened over the sports weekend. That comes up next, right here on the early game. We talk about procedural issues hurting an offensive line or hurting an offense. Well, procedural issues for your home or business might include water coming in and not being fully protected. A roof issue is a pretty fundamental issue, the part of your home or business, and that's what makes Midstate Roofing so important. And that's why I, on a daily basis, tell you that if you have a leak, you should let Midstate Roofing take a peek, because they have nearly 30 years of proven experience to be the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, right? From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing's been designing and installing bonded systems that give you a protective guarantee to keep that operation dry and running long into the future. And of course, to further the theme of protection, you can protect that roof with a maintenance contract. So give them a call today, 803-356-1919, or you can always hit them up online at midstateroofing.com. And remember, if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
I-77 southbound at Shop Road. We do have an accident there where the left lane is blocked. Hugie at Blossom, still a slowdown. I-26 westbound at Airport Boulevard. I-77 southbound at Purcellville Road and Lower Richland Boulevard at Garner's Ferry Road. I-77 northbound there at Blythewood Road. That accident has been cleared, so good news in that respect. And your forecast. Yep, we're going to get this kind of damp stuff out. There's been a little bit of misty conditions this morning. That's going to be clearing. 76 for the high, 80 tomorrow, 81 for your Wednesday. 61 currently on the early game.
Reaction Monday continues here on the early game. We'll get Preston's reaction on a lot of different things from the game we saw on Saturday night and a lot from an incredibly busy week of football, both in the college ranks and in the NFL. But it's time to fire up Thorns, Buds, and Roses.
It's time for Thorns, Buds, and Roses with Preston Thorne on the early game. 107.5 The Game.
All right, Elijah. Big weekend. The weekend started on Friday. What a great. This has been awesome. We haven't hit sports equinox, but man, sports have been sportsing at a high clip. Very entertaining. A lot going on. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Thorns, buyouts. Man.
Ooh.
Getting paid that much money to not be good at your job is a fascinating grift that college football agents have managed to pull the wool over athletic directors, and athletic directors have managed to be culpable in doing this. $48 million to James Franklin, which sounds absolutely ridiculous. However, we'd be remiss if we did not mention the king of buyouts, Jimbo Fisher. That was $76 million that they told him to go away. But were they wrong? Mike Elko might prove them right. Who knows? What is a dollar worth? I don't know. And of course, obviously, South Carolina, we're not immune because Will Muschamp is still coming into our stadium, getting dubs, taking pictures, and collecting checks from the state of South Carolina, which is fascinating. Buyouts. It's amazing that we can have this type of situation in place, and then people, as you said, the athletic departments are going to cry about not having enough money to supply scholarships when they can just go find $50 million. When they want it, they can figure things out. But the problem with the firings is like James Franklin got fired, and it's whatever. He gets $49 million, but it's not just James that gets fired. It's the staff. Everything in that building will be replaced. People who do not have buyouts on their contract, people who do not make multi-million dollars a year, the nutritionists, the staffs, the janitors, people in those buildings will be harmed by what I think might be a potentially irrational decision. Thorns, Buds, hey, the coaching carousel has spun up. It is going, and it is going round and round very, very fast. They are nipping coaches in the bud. We just see James Franklin. We saw Lonnie Teasley. It's the business we chose, like Ray said. But also, some fan bases are getting happy. I told you, when a coach gets fired, yes, you mourn it, but also there might be a mini celebration. Will our offensive line be better? I don't know. We'll see. But I think there might be a little modicum of hope in Gamecock Nation. Buds and Roses, this is obvious if you haven't been listening. Jen, how many roses do I need?
I'm going to say, just a guess, 22?
Bing, 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 bing. Great answer.
Yeah.
22 roses for the greatest Gamecock athlete ever. The greatest Gamecock to ever put on a uniform. A'ja Wilson. Not only did she win at Heathwood, not only did she win at South Carolina, she wins in the pros, she wins internationally. She is the ultimate winner. I stress, it is very rare for somebody to be number one wire to wire, to be the best at every single level with the amount of pressure and deliver on it every single time. 4-time MVP, 3-time champion, national champion, gold medalist, and also 2025, what a year. Hard launched a shoe and a relationship all in the same year. This is a busy woman. Give her all of her flowers. A'ja Wilson, the GOAT. 22 roses for you. Elijah, those are our Thorns, Buds, and Roses.
Oh, man. I mean, A'ja Wilson may be the short list of players in all of basketball, men's or women's, to have a college championship, a professional championship, and an Olympic gold medal.
It's pretty solid.
Remarkable. Like, not only did she put up a lot of the stats that make her a multi-time MVP, but winning as well, doing it at the highest level, right? And when you talk about MVPs in other sports right now, like Nikola Jokic in basketball. Yeah, has all these MVPs. He's got one title. Didn't play college ball, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got his MVP and his title, but didn't win one at Kentucky. Didn't win a gold medal either at Canada. And then, you know, you look in the NFL, like Patrick Mahomes has his, I think he's got one MVP or two. I can't remember if he's got one or two, but he's got multiple Super Bowls, but didn't have the success in college, right? You look at Lamar Jackson too, right? Multiple MVPs, no Super Bowl appearances, and didn't go to a college football playoff in college. Very rarely are you getting all three of those type of things, especially in sports that have the Olympics. Asia Wilson's in a class of her own right now, and it's really cool. And again, where's she from, Preston Thorne?
She's from right here, Columbia, South Carolina. As I stated, Asia Wilson has eaten Bernie's chicken. Asia Wilson has been stopped behind a train. Asia Wilson has done all the things that you do in Columbia. She's done all the same things. It is amazing.
And
We need to have
back to the coaching.
an Asia Wilson
Go ahead,
trail. Like where are the places, that Asia has been or something? That would be kind of fun.
That would be really cool, actually.
It sounds like a scavenger hunt.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Can you collect all the landmarks that Asia Wilson has been to in Columbia, South Carolina?
That would be a lot of fun.
What would be more fun, that or taking a ride on the coaching carousel? Because, the scavenger hunt is one thing. It won't make you dizzy, though. But the coaching carousel
Different kinds
is
of
now
fun.
Different kinds of fun, yes. And one might be a little bit dangerous hopping on the coaching carousel because it's moving at warp speed right now. And not only do you have some high-profile openings, James Franklin's a pretty high-profile head coach to just be a free agent right now.
Yeah, and there's going to be programs. I don't know is there a potential trade in the works with Penn State and Nebraska? Is that what's going to happen? Are the folks down in Gainesville saying, hey, we were going to hang on to Billy, but now that James is available, maybe we make a move now? There's a lot going on that things are happening rapidly. And again, when these head coaches get fired, then the OC gets fired, and the DC, and the O-line coach, and the staffer, and everybody else. And it's a long trickle-down effect. So there's going to be a lot of coaches, a lot of agents on phone calls this week and moving forward.
And you mentioned the assistant, the coordinators in there. Andy Kotelnicki, it's not been a really good year for him at Penn State, but as an offensive coordinator last year, I thought did a really good job with that offense and getting them to where they were. A guy who was at Kansas under Lance Leipold, a very interesting offensive coordinator name that will be kind of floated out for potential other openings that happen too. It's not just the head coaches that are going to be hired and fired. It will also be the coordinators, and so people on these staffs will also be looking for jobs. And some of them, the more wholesale change that happens at really big programs, the more you might have coordinator options that just float around for all teams that will eventually have those openings later on. Reaction Monday will continue, 803-404-6100. We're going to keep breaking down some of the issues on the offense, including a disturbing statistic from Saturday in the loss to LSU.
There's more?
And it's time to take, I'm going to Billy Mays you here, right? I'm going to hit you with a Billy Mays. But wait, there's more. Yeah, there's more. And what does that tell us about a certain unit on this team, and what does that tell us about the program, considering it's been a pretty frequent thing over the last few years? We continue to break down the 20-10 loss to LSU next.
I-77 southbound at Shop Road. Still working that earlier tie-up. Other accidents have been cleared, so wonderful news. Traffic should be moving at a better pace now. 76 for the high today, 80 tomorrow, 81 on Wednesday, and then back into the mid-70s for the remainder of the week. But Thursday and Friday, the mornings could be a little bit cooler as overnight lows will be about 50, 53. So going to be a little more like jacket weather. Currently, it is a bit on the overcast side and 62.
It's Reaction Monday. South Carolina falls to LSU 20-10, and there's many things you can take away from it. We've talked about the penalties, not being opportunistic when your defense was opportunistic, forcing 3 turnovers in the game, 2 of which occurred on the goal line to keep LSU from scoring and keeping yourself in this game. But the Gamecocks simply refused to take the invitation that LSU gave them throughout the game. And one of the reasons why that was the case is because of 24 pressures. 24 pressures in the game. South Carolina threw the ball 27 times in terms of passes that actually left the right hand of LaNorris Sellers. He was pressured on 65% of his dropbacks during the game. And I think that alone, between the 24 pressures, all of the penalties, again, 9 procedural penalties, 2 on defense, so 7 procedural penalties on offense, on that offensive line, lead up into Lonnie Teasley being dismissed as the offensive line coach for the South Carolina Gamecocks. But the 24 pressures, too, is another thing that, look, there have been plenty of games this year where South Carolina did not throw the ball 20 times in a game. Giving up 24 pressures almost is a non-starter when it comes to winning a game on the road in the SEC.
Yeah, and again, the reason why we're focusing on the pressure number and not the sacks number, which they didn't do well in that either, is because pressures are directly considered an offensive line stat. That is you versus the guy and you losing those battles.
And here's the worst part about this, too. You lost a lot of battles, and like LSU's defense is really good. I think we learned that. That's a really good defense. We've talked about it ad nauseum last week in the lead up to this game, how good LSU's defense is. But you're about to play some teams, some units that are better pass rush units than LSU. Specifically, 2 different players that are on the schedule. One coming into town on Saturday with Oklahoma. R. Mason Thomas is one of the best pass rushers in America. That guy ate up Jackson Arnold when they played just a few short weeks ago. And then when you play Texas A&M, Cassius Howell might be the most underrated pass rusher in all of America. I think everybody knows R. Mason Thomas is really good. Cassius Howell kind of flying under the radar a little bit. But that's another guy who is there to rush the passer. If that doesn't get rectified, we are looking at a really bad potential for the season to go off the rails pretty quickly. And it already feels like it's teetering to that point. Yeah,
as I said, the season is market right now is a disappointment, especially based on where we were ranked preseason. That's fine. It is a disappointment. It's not a failure yet. A failure would only be if they don't show up for the rest of the schedule. They don't compete. They don't win a game here or there. I still believe that it's possible. Now, it doesn't matter what I believe. They have to believe it over in the facility. But I do think that because Shane has not shown let me rephrase that. Let me put that in the positive. Shane has always shown the ability to keep a locker room together and for his teams to continue to play and fight throughout years. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. However, these glaring issues can no longer be ignored, and they have to be acknowledged. They can't be ignored, and they have to be acknowledged, because for all this time we've been told, like, oh, we're trending in the right direction, or we'll see, we're getting better, or we're working on those things, or no, you're wrong. And the fans have been right. The offensive line is inept to this point, and they're not performing to any level of satisfaction. That's just what the numbers show.
And that's what's going to hold your offense back, regardless of how, good Lenore Sellers can look at times, regardless how good Vandrevis Jacobs can play at times. You're still not being able to maximize this because the failures are up front. A lot of the failures are up front. And when it comes to just addressing it and moving forward, Preston, where do you even start? I mean, sure, Shane watched the film on the iPad coming back from Baton Rouge over the weekend, and he clearly sees what's going on, and that's why he made the move to fire Lonnie Teasley. But that's one place to start. But now you have to probably change what your whole offense is. Whatever your offensive game plan was coming into the season of what team you wanted to be, you have to scrap, right? You do not have the ability to try to be this balanced offense that you wanted your identity to be because of how the offensive line has looked. And now you're going to have to kind of start back from square one and see exactly what it is that you do well and what you have time to do well on any given play.
Yeah, and then we're going to have to figure out what exactly that looks like for the team.
Yeah, and that was one of my questions is what kind of time does it take to install new things from a coach who's now taking over?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably not install, but deprogram maybe. Okay. It's like we're not doing these types of things anymore. We're gonna do this, but maybe not so much install, but more deprogram for what they've been doing. I think that's kind of thing. And to be very clear, Sean Elliott is a good person to take over in the interim, because when you have these types of situations, you want somebody who's different than the previous, one way or the other. If you had a real yelly person, maybe you want somebody that comes in and teaches and, is a little bit softer hand. If you have that, you probably need the yelly person coming behind them to just change things up and switch gears. So that's your ultimate hope.
He's done this before here.
Correct.
So
he's done it before here. He is the run game coordinator. Maybe you expect to see more of Sean Elliott's type of run games, because we have not seen the zone, the QB zone scheme and the run game that Sean Elliott is known for. We have not seen a lot of that. So maybe now he can say, hey, I'm coaching the O-line now. I think we should maybe do it like this. Mm-hmm. Maybe you'll see more of that. But all that being said, it is Monday. We play a game here in hours. So they have to be getting that stuff ready now.
Yeah. And when looking at this team, too, I think it's safe to say the struggles they've had are kind of just who they are. And that's where, to me, the wholesale change has to start, even like with an identity standpoint. You have to be able to make this not, who you are. Like, it's one thing if these issues were happening at the very beginning of the year and it carried over for a couple of weeks, but then you saw them get better. Like last year's team, for instance, right? Mm-hmm. They were 3-3, the exact same spot, and they were coming off of a 27 or the second loss, a couple weeks before that, a 27-3 loss to Ole Miss, where the offense looked putrid. But then you got that week where you lost to Alabama to go to 3-3, but you saw some changes, right? The defense was still playing well, but the offense, you saw a spark, right? You saw something click a little bit. And from that point on, even the offensive line played better, right? They improved. Still, it wasn't up to where you want it to be in this conference, but you improved, visibly improved throughout the course of the season. It's going to take something like that to happen for you to at least achieve some of the goals that you had ahead of you. The college football playoff, that goal, that's gone, right? You're not going to go farther, which is what they wanted to be at the beginning of the year. But there's still a lot to salvage, but you got to do it by showing some of the marginal improvement you're able to last year. If not, then it can go off the rails and get ugly quick.
Yeah, and also, I mean, this is the first time Shane has done it in his era. Maybe it should have been done in other times, but this is the first time he's done it. And I don't care who you are, when you walk in that meeting and there's an empty seat, that lets you know it can happen to you too. And so,
no one is immune at this point.
Correct. Yep. And they shouldn't be, because everything's fair and everything's on the table. Again, you just go over the numbers. It's just not it's bad. There's no other way. There's no way to soften the blow when you're last in total yards, last in scoring, 15th in rushing, 15th in passing, 15th in sacks allowed. That's unacceptable. Those are grounds for dismissal for anybody involved.
It should be a sobering experience for all involved. A night like Saturday night is the ultimate look yourself in the mirror type performance, especially considering LSU tried to get you back in this game and you simply refuse to accept the game request. That is not a winning strategy, but we have winners that we can give for today's show, and we'll do that to round out Reaction Monday next. A lot of things in life can be weighing you down or bothering you, but if tax issues are one of those things, I can help you out with that by directing you to my friends over at the Ecton Law Firm, because for years in the state of South Carolina, John Ecton and his team have been helping all types of people figure out their tax issues and get that relief that they've been seeking. Doesn't matter if they're personal income tax issues or business tax issues, John Ecton and his team are here for you. And my favorite part about the Ecton Law Firm is that you can set up a free consultation today. Yes, I said a free consultation. 803-771-9800. Give them a call. Have John and his team talk with you and get to the specifics of what you're going through and be able to come up with a game plan to attack it at the source. So don't wait. Get out of that IRS maze today. 803-771-9800 or visit EctonLawFirm.com. That's ECTONLawFirm.com.
Winners.
Coach Singletary wants winners, so it's up to us to give it to them. Even on a weekend where Carolina did not look very good and lost an opportunity to steal a win in Baton Rouge, there's still plenty of winners from the weekend and some winners from today's show. But I got to circle it back to that game. It's Reaction Monday. It's all going to circle back to that game on Saturday night, Preston Thorne. So my first winner of the day, fundamentals. Because with this team, they keep showing how important they are, right? You can run really fancy stuff. You can do a lot of really cool things on offense. But if you can't do the fundamentals of blocking or tackling, it's going to cost you games. Both blocking and tackling cost you the Missouri game. Tackling cost you the Vanderbilt game. That and some maybe other factors as well. And then against LSU, the blocking certainly caused issues, along with 9 procedural penalties throughout the game that kept you from being able to take advantage of any of the handouts LSU was willing to give.
That is absolutely correct. I am going to give my first winner certificate, winner sticker, candy bar goes to the leading rusher in the NFL for the past 2 weeks, Rico Dowdle.
Yes.
Carolina grad, Carolina Panther. He's back home playing not too far from his hometown, Gaffney, right up the road in Charlotte. So he's right there. 389 yards, 2 weeks. He's been balling. Rico Dowdle, baller, winner.
Yeah, Rico Dowdle, definitely. Hey, the Panthers don't look now.
Hey.
They're 3-3. they're playing good football right now. I did see somebody comment who was a Gamecock and a Panther fan. It's like I didn't think the Panthers would be the highlight of my football season, but here we are.
That's why you play the games.
Rico Dowdle specifically. That's right. Rico Dowdle specifically. Like, look now, does Chuba Hubbard when he's healthy? Does he what's his role look like? Because I think Rico Dowdle's making it pretty hard on that coaching staff to end up making that decision. And also, just to add to Rico Dowdle's game yesterday, doing it against your former team had to feel pretty good. A little bit of a revenge game factor there for Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, especially when your former team, I mean, they did give him a shot and they did keep him around, but when it came down to give him some money, they was like, I don't think so.
Another winner I have for today, and this is, I will zig while others zag here. My winner's James Franklin.
Oh, you stole mine.
For the sole purpose, Preston Thorne, for the sole purpose of living out my dream, right? I hate when other people live out my dream. And getting paid $49 million to not do any work is the dream. That's the ultimate goal, right? Getting paid to go away. You would pay me $49 million to go away. All right, see ya. I'll be gone in an hour, right? We'll clean this office out so quick for $49 million. Even though he got fired, he lost his job, he's no longer the head coach at Penn State. He's a winner because you got 49 million reasons to not have to shed a tear.
Yes, it will be hurting because this is my big point. When we talk about feeling bad for people losing their jobs, it's not because you lost your job. It's because you lost the money that your job is bringing. Listen, I have a lot of jobs. If I stopped working any of these jobs and you just gave me the money, I'd find something to do.
Correct.
So it's not about losing the job. And I know we say, like, oh, condolences to that. That's cool, but it's about the money.
Yes.
And these people are getting paid lots of money. They'll be fine.
And you know what? They always say, you don't get fired, you fire yourself.
Very true. And in this case, the people at Penn State said, hey, man, we're going to figure out another way. And as I've warned those folks from Penn State, be careful what you ask for. Real quick, Elijah, would you give Death Valley a winner certificate?
100%. I will say, giving just a review of the venue, that is an amazing place to watch a college football game, right? I mean, we're lucky to have Williams-Brice Stadium in our backyard and get to go there on Saturdays, but if you ever get a chance to see a game in Death Valley, you absolutely have to do it. Like, the atmosphere, it's one of the loudest stadiums I've ever been in, right? Even in a game that neither team looked particularly good, and even LSU's not feeling great about how their offense looked and how they played during that game, it was still a raucous environment. Like, I can absolutely see how not many people go in there and win. So when a team does go in there and win against a really good LSU team, that is quite the victory, because that place is it's something else. You have to experience it to believe it. I remember texting Preston before the game being like, this place is so hecking loud right now that even the press box, I couldn't hear people like sitting next to me. Like it was, in terms of noise level and intimidation factor and everything like that place had it. Great. Walked through some, like the tailgates beforehand, and they do it pretty good down here in Louisiana.
Yeah, it's one. It absolutely lives up to all the hype. Some places, you say, it didn't live up to the hype. From my experience and everybody that I hear, it is an absolute place. I would say if we do get a chance to play them again, you need to make trips, make a plan to go.
And the Superdome, a winner as well. The Saints secondary is horrific, but I got to go see them play in the Superdome yesterday, and that's the coolest place on the planet. I love watching games in the Superdome. So they're a winner too. Jack Veltri and Tyler Head in the Extra Point, they're a winner. Reaction Monday continues with them next.